Understanding, cultivating, and maximizing the given talents and abilities we possess is the key to living and performing above the social norm. Join best-selling author, keynote speaker, and resilience trainer Rodney Flowers as he shares impactful insights, tools, and strategies to assist in creating and achieving optimal results in your life and your business. Adopt the game changer mentality.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Game Changer Mentality Podcast. I am your host, Rodney Flowers, best-selling author, keynote speaker, and resilience trainer. And as always, I am excited about today's show. I have Dylan Ogline in the studio with me today, and he has a wonderful, wonderful story that I want you guys to hear. You know, talk about high school dropout turned six-figure agency owner with over $1 million in sales, transitioned in 3 years, and he contributes that success to extreme focus. How about that? Who said focus isn't important? Dylan knows better, and he's going to talk about that today. He's going to talk about how he built a digital marketing company. He's a digital marketing expert, entrepreneur, an educator. And he's going to talk to you about his business. He's going to share with us about how he did it, his mindset, how he transitioned into the successful entrepreneur that he is today. So without further ado, let's welcome Dylan Ogline to the Game Changer Mentality Podcast. So welcome to the show, Dylan.
Thanks for having me, man. Great intro. I'm all pumped. I'm all excited. I'm a digital marketing expert. I absolutely love that. I don't consider myself an expert, but hey, I'll take it. And yeah, man, I'm excited. Let's do it.
Well, you know, we're excited too, man. Glad to have you here. First of all, congratulations on all of your success and, you know, climbing out of the pit, you know, doing all the things that you've done to make your business successful, being a successful person and coming on the show to share, hey, your experience and your story with us, man. I really appreciate that because here at the Game Changer Mentality headquarters, we're all about minds. And so what's really interesting to me about your story is that you contributed your transition to focus. Absolutely. And so I want to really get into that because, you know, a lot of times we start things, businesses, projects, whatever, goals and objectives, and we want to accomplish them. We have that burning desire. And then there's things that are missing. You know, we feel like, you know, I'm learning, I'm trying really hard, like I'm grinding, you know, that's sort of the mantra around, you know, self-development and entrepreneurs is that you got to put the grind and you got to put the work in. But here you are talking about, you know, focus. So I really want to, you know, understand your story, how you got to a place where you felt like you needed to just focus and how did that, you know, make a difference for you?
For sure. I would actually say if we're particularly just talking about mindset, which I talk about, I think mindset is more important than any kind of business advice that anybody could give. If you're not having success in your business, most likely it's a mindset issue. I truly believe that. So the focus is absolutely key, but that's more just for me personally. When I view it, it's more just about the business focus because what the issue that I had was that I was going in too many different directions, wasn't making progress because I was bouncing around chasing the shiniest object. That's where the focus came in was I just focused on one single business and one single product, one single service. But again, I don't view that more as a mindset. For me, the mindset change that I had comes down to standards. And I believe that is probably the more powerful thing if we're just talking about mindset than particularly the focus. And for me, what I learned is you're not the best version of yourself that you imagine in your life. You are the lowest version of yourself that you find acceptable. And if you have goals, dreams, aspirations outside, this could be outside of business, and this is where this is powerful. If you have dreams and you have goals, what I found is that you will do pretty much nothing to achieve them, but you will fight to the death to not breach your standards. So if you have goals and you have dreams and you have aspirations like I did, the simple mindset change is that you must turn them into an undeniable standard that you have for yourself. And I know that just went off in a completely different direction than what you were expecting. But for me, if we're just talking about mindset, the the standards is more of a mindset than the focus.
So when you talk about standards, are you talking about values? Is the standard the values, or is that something separate?
I believe that you have to come up with what your own definition of that is.
Okay.
The two examples that I like to give, they're silly and they're stupid almost, but because it's so simple. One, it has to do with money. So I remember whenever I was starting to get the business going, like the dream was 6 figures, which is $1,923 a week. Like I wanted to hit $1,923 a week and on average. And now I'm at 7 figures, which is $19,230. But what I'm getting at is when I was aiming for that, I was used to making, say, $1,000 a week or whatever. And then I hit 1,923, and then it kept going, and it was 2,000, it was 3,000, it was 5,000. And I was having this conversation with a friend once, and his business was growing too, but just about the same time that mine started to grow. And I remember we both, like, it was during the holidays or something, and we had this dip, and we started talking, and it was like, man, like, how much you do this month? And it was like, 10,000 or 15,000 or something like that. And we were joking that it was like, oh man, we have to start like searching bankruptcy attorneys. And we were just joking. It was like 2 guys having beers or whatever. And what I realized is once you start to grow and you start to realize that you're changing your standard, okay, you'll start to panic when you're not hitting that standard. So for me now, as an example, like if my business dropped to say 15,000 a week, I would be losing my mind trying to figure out what's going on, because that has become the standard for the business. Whereas before, I'm $15,000 a week, like, you gotta be kidding me. That's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way I'll ever get to that much, right? And it was simply just the standard had changed, and then your reaction to what's going on changes as well. So I changed the standard, so now I start to get more motivated, I guess, excited if things start to drop below that standard.
Yeah. So
if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Complete sense. So how did you get to the point where that became the standard? Because, a lot of times you've heard the phrase, hey, turn your annual income into your monthly income. You probably heard that before, right? All right, boom. Yeah. And so now you're like, okay, what I'm making monthly, that's my standard. So to even think that I can turn what I make in a year into the standard for the month, it's like a Herculean undertaking. Like to even fix your mind to do that, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I can't even see how. Like the first thing they do is, well, how am I going to do that? So was it the success, just being able to kind of hit those numbers repeatedly, and because you were doing it repeatedly, it's kind of it was easy for you to say, hey, all right, that's the new standard now, because we're doing this seemingly effortlessly. Boom, that's what we're going to do. Or was there a mindset shift in order to get to the place where, hey, I'm going to make my annual income, for example, my monthly income? I think
what happens is you start to, like I said, with the business mindset shift was really the focus. But in general, with the setting a standard, it's relatable to, you've probably heard before that people are like 10 times more motivated to not lose $100 than they are to make $100. Nobody's really willing to like get up off the couch to go make $100, but people will like go to war over losing $100. Okay. It's very similar to that, where once you get a certain standard, you start to panic if that comes in question.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So for me, again, it was the business. I started to focus, and then you start to get that little bit of success, but recognizing that the change was the standard was really key, and just seeing that mindset shift.
What were some of the hurdles you had to overcome to sort of come from, hey, nothing seemingly, and I guess that's just sort of to
the high school dropout?
Yeah, to 7-figure success.
Looking back, and this seems so silly, but the age was a factor for me, which is, a lot of people can't relate to that. But I remember being 20 or whatever and trying to get a client, and they would just look at me like, There's no way you know what you're doing. Or even before that, like when I was 16, 17, 18, people looked at me like I was a joker. Like there's no way this guy is serious or he knows what he's doing. So that was certainly a hurdle. Not having, I think talking about adversity, I look at myself as very blessed and very lucky. I had great mentors. I had great teachers. I never won the lottery, didn't get any money from my parents or anything like that. So sure, some people look at that and they're like, that's not lucky. But yeah, I really think that when you face adversity, it's a good thing. You never want things to be easy. One, you don't appreciate it. And two, if things come to you too easy, you're just not willing to fight.
What's the benefit in the fight? Because you hear a lot of people, and there's businesses out there right now. Hey, it's almost the tagline is almost the quick and easy way to 7 figures, right? In a box. It's almost like a plug and play. If you do this, boom, you're going to be successful, right? And so, but your philosophy is, hey, you want it to be a little tough. You want to feel a little challenge. Why do you feel that way?
It's not that you want it to be tough. I think you need to feel gratitude that it is tough, which is very tough in the moment. I get that. I recognize that. But looking back, I'm like, I'm so thankful that I went through all that shit.
Why?
It was because now I have relentless work ethic. Because I couldn't fail. I look at people who have trust funds or whatever. They got money from their parents or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, that's unfortunate. Like that sucks because you never have to work for it. You never build that muscle of facing adversity. So the slightest tough thing comes your way, which life will throw you tough things. Like that's just the way life is. If you've never faced adversity, it could just throw you off balance and completely destroy your world. But if you've faced at least some adversity, which everybody will at some point in their life, but the earlier you face it and the tougher the challenges, the better off you are in the end. I'm thoroughly convinced that way. And thinking of it in terms of gratitude, like I'm thankful I'm going through these challenges right now, because when I come out on the other end, I'll appreciate it more. And on top of that, I'll be stronger and better in the future.
So what do you feel about COVID? That's
what do I feel about
gigantic challenge for the entire world.
Yeah. Are we talking in terms of like business owners who are struggling right now?
Well, in all facets of COVID, because it's very challenging. It's challenging economically for countries. It's challenging individually. It's challenging for the elderly. It's challenging for people who have lost jobs. It's challenging for people who healthy but can't leave the house, or they got kids that are home and now they're trying to navigate that, like their routine and their life has been turned upside down as a result of that. It's just a challenging time, right?
No, I agree 100%, man.
And so what's your philosophy around that? How do you deal with that personally?
Personally, I feel gratitude. Like for me, my business went up this year.
Yeah.
That's undeniably, that's so incredibly lucky to have that happen. But the biggest problem I faced this year is that I couldn't really travel and I've been stuck in my home and I can't really go out and play hockey. And wow, like that's the definition of first world problems right there. Some people, they complain about that and it's like, dude, no, there's always somebody who's facing a tougher challenge than you. Specifically because I come from the business world, obviously. I look at it and I say, this sucks right now for a lot of people, but you look at like when we have faced when we have faced economic challenges before, once we get through it, there tends to be a lot of incredible companies that were started because of that. People might have been laid off, so they had more time to be at home, working in the garage or working in the basement, creating the next big Airbnb or the next Tesla or the next whatever. The lesson I think one of the first business books I ever picked up talked about all the companies that came out of the Great Depression. The Great Depression, man. That was the worst economic event we ever went through as a country globally. And still a ton of massive, incredible companies came out of that. And for me, that was really impactful because I went through 2008 like whenever I was, 08, 09, the financial crisis, whenever I was 19 and 20. So that really motivated me to get through that. Same thing motivates me now. Right now I'm in the lucky position where my business went up, but I look through and I'm like, man, there's going to be some exciting things that are going to be happening over the next year or two. People are going to create incredible companies. And you have to just make that mindset shift of, hey, this is adversity right now. This sucks. This is bad. But this is how we get better, by facing these tough times. You have to have that attitude, I think, with everything in life. 100%.
Do you follow David Goggins at all?
I do not. Is he a motivational guy?
He's a retired SEAL and Army Ranger. And I'm reading his book right now, and he's been in, I don't know, maybe 60 marathons, ultra triathlons, and all of these, major.
I Googled it. Toughest man alive?
Yeah, he's like the hardest man alive. That's what he calls himself.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah. So he talks about in his book, callousing the mind, sort of like when you work with your hands a lot, and you work with your hands so much that you begin to build these calluses over your hands. What hurt once before doesn't really hurt anymore because you've built up these calluses on your hands. And then he says, that's the same thing that you do with your mind. He said, but here's the
100%.
Here's the key. He said, either way, you're going to build up a callus. It doesn't matter because you can't avoid resistance, opposition, challenge. It's going to happen. But what side of it are you going to be on? Because you can build up a callus where you become resentful and victimized because you keep going through challenges. Or you can develop a callus where it's like, it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm numb to this. I've been here before. And this is just another one of those things that we're just going to get through, and we just keep going. As you were speaking, it just kind of took me back to that reading his book. Each experience of adversity is sort of like a practice session, if you will. I mean, you can, it's the real thing, but yet how you respond to it, what you get out of it or not, it really sets you up for how you respond to the next one that's coming, right? It's like how you play this game is going to affect the next game and the next game and the next game and the next game, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you get up after this hit is going to affect the next hit and the next hit and the next hit.
I 110% agree with that, man. And I believe that the key part is that it's a choice. You can either sorrow and cry the blues, or you could realize that this is an opportunity and you just need to decide, just make the decision and put it out there into the universe that this is an opportunity for me. Mm-hmm. I am going to become a better person. I am going to build a better business. I'm going to start that business that I've been thinking about. Whatever it is, when you're facing those challenges, that adversity, you have a choice. You can choose to be negative, or you can realize that I have been blessed with this opportunity and just decide and put out into the universe that I'm going to take advantage of this.
So Dylan, what keeps you going, right? I mean, because, facing adversity after adversity, challenge after challenge, like I get, being an entrepreneur isn't easy. I'm an entrepreneur myself. And, just like you said, you can wake up one day and boom, there's an issue. You've been making, X amount of dollars and you drop 20%, 25%, 30%.
50%, whatever.
50%.
Yeah.
You got to go figure that out. You got to run that down. And it's almost seemingly like search for a needle in a haystack at times. You really don't know. And so many varying factors could affect that situation. As the business owner, it's all on you, right? As an entrepreneur, it's all on you. And then you have a family, you got all of this stuff. You don't have that security as you would if you had a 9-to-5, which is why a lot of people stay in a 9-to-5 because they don't want that headache. So I love talking to entrepreneurs because there's something about them that, they stay in the fight regardless, bruised, scarred up, beat up, beaten, but yet the next day they're there with the tongues out, slobbering at the mouth, like ready to go again.
Hungry.
What is that? And what would you say to people, right, that maybe they're in the middle of that fight right now and they're getting their behinds kicked? Or maybe they want to get in, but they're afraid of that very thing that I've just described. what would you say to them?
For me personally, what you started that at was, I think, like what kept you going or something like that.
Yeah.
For me, was failure just was not an option. There was no plan B. I think there's a lot to be said about that. That's not smart. I mean, for me personally, like I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have parents or friends or a trust fund or anything like that. Like if I failed, like I'd go hungry. Like there would be no food. I believe, again, this is absolutely terrible advice, but I believe it is a good idea to burn the bridge. There's I don't know if this is like a fable or a fake story or fiction or whatnot, but there's this story I heard once about like burning the boats. And there was like this, I'm going to butcher this story. I don't know where it came from, but in the story, this general or whatever is leading his troops on ships on the battle, right? And they get to the island or wherever they're going to launch their battle. And he has them set all the ships on fire. This might actually be a true story. I don't know. But he has them set all the ships on fire. And his troops are like, what's going on? What if we need to retreat? And he's like, there is no retreating. I just removed that option. It's done. You have to win. You cannot fail. So I believe in like the whole burning the bridge thing, and just there's no going back, because when failure is not an option, you just won't fail. As ridiculous as that sounds. So I think there's a lot to be said by that. Don't follow that advice. It's absolutely terrible advice. Don't go burn your bridges or burn the boats. But for me, I consider myself lucky that I didn't have a backup plan, that there was no plan B. Failure was not an option.
So you think you would have lightened up a little bit? You wouldn't have went as hard. You wouldn't have tried as hard if you knew you had an alternative?
I can't answer that. I cannot answer that. Again, I always use that gratitude. I come back to feeling lucky that I didn't have a plan B, that the failure couldn't happen for me, because I would go hungry. There would be no food. The second thing is I would say you just have to, I talked about just deciding to be positive about it. If you're looking to start your own business, or you're going through those struggles right now, you just have to decide that it will work. I know that's not the perfect advice. There's this video of I love Will Smith. And there's this video of him talking about like what drove him, what was motivating him. And he says something like, it's just ridiculous, relentless work ethic. And he says something, and I when I heard this, I was like, dude, like I so relate to that. This is the only difference between me and somebody else, is that if we get on a treadmill beside each other, you're getting off first or I'm going to die. It's really that simple. I think that right there sums it up. I don't know how I could put it into better words than that. Is you just have to make it up in your mind that you're going to die or you're going to succeed.
Well, it's something to be said about that. It really is. And I've done the same thing. I haven't done it in business. I didn't burn my bridge on my business before I built my business bridge. I had another bridge. Just full disclosure, I had another bridge. However, when it came to walking again, after getting hurt, that was the philosophy. It was walk again or die trying. That's it. It was it was 100% committed. It was just no.
You weren't going to fail. It
was just no option. I didn't see anything else. This is what's going to happen, or I'm going to die, period. And that's it. Boom. I mean, and it was after that, there was nothing else. It was this or that. And so every day it was, boots on, strapped up, working towards walking again. Everything in life was geared toward walking again. My entire life. It's sort of like before I got hurt, it was all about football, right? And so the whole, if you want to go pro in any sport, like you have to start dedicating your life to that sport at a very young age, because it takes, you got to get your 10,000 hours in. It takes that much level of commitment. And given there's other people out there looking for that same spot that it's very limited spots, and you got to be the best man to go into that spot. You got to come with your A+ game, not your A game, your A++ game. And I took that same approach with walking again. I feel that if you don't have that level of commitment and love for what it is that you do, then Everything else is just a wish or a dream. All those desires, it's just a wish or a dream. If you don't have the commitment behind your vision,
dedication,
the dedication, the devotion, all of those things, it's just a dream.
And I think for business in particular, which is slightly easier than learning to walk again, like your story and everything, man.
Yeah.
You didn't have a choice, obviously. With business, a lot of people have that choice. They don't have to get into business. They can go get a job. And I think a lot of people, because they have that choice, they don't recognize just how difficult it typically is. And a lot of people, it's like, well, why is their business failing or whatnot? It's probably because they're just not committed to it. They're still partying on the weekends or hanging out with friends, and it's just because they have not made the decision that this is going to work. I'm going to succeed at this. And once you make that decision, all these distractions, hanging out with friends, partying, not working towards that goal, saying no to that stuff becomes easy because it's just, I have decided that this is how it's going to be and I'm going to make this work, and the universe will just get out of your way and you will just have that commitment. So for people who are struggling with maybe commitment issues or putting in the work and putting in the effort, it's just because you just haven't decided that you're going to make it work. And then I recognize that is just overly simplifying it. But for me, it really is that simple.
I think it comes down to who are you going to be in business? That's it. Are you going to be the person that succeed or not? It's like you said, it's the choice. Because I think I've interviewed hundreds of people, and the common theme is they say it takes relentless effort, commitment, mentorship, coaching, and not willing to fail. Those are the 5 things. All of them say the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it really comes down, these people have adopted, within themselves, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is the type of person I'm going to be. I'm going to be that guy that's not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to be that guy. And even if I lose it all, I'm going to start again. If I'm on the street, if I'm home, like they're willing to go to death. Basically, that's it. That's what they are willing to go to death in order to bring that forward. And everyone that I interview, like they are extremely wealthy. They're rich. They have money, but they have something that's driving them that's beyond that. And that's this unwavering effort and drive to succeed. Mm-hmm. And it's not about money. It's just, I think it's more about winning to me. I think it's about not losing, not being defeated, or the commitment to who I have decided to be and what I've decided to bring forward. Like, I'm going to bring that forward no matter what. And everything else is a byproduct of that decision. Oh,
that's a very good way to put it. I also think just proving not proving yourself right. Like, hey, I'm right. Look at me. But like, I face this challenge and I'm going to prove to myself, even if nobody else in the world sees this, I want to prove to myself that I can do this, that I face the adversity, that I face this challenge, whatever. And I got through it.
And I think that's very rewarding. That's one of the reasons I got into it. I love challenges. I do. And I love them because I like to compete. I'm a very competitive person. I don't like to compete with other people, though. I like to compete with myself.
Compete with yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's the greatest competition of all because I need work. I'm great at a lot of things and there's a lot that I can accomplish. And when I accomplish those things based on the version that I am today, there's yet another level. In order for me to get to that level, there's weaknesses and things about myself that I have to attend to in order to get to that next level. And they're not like, the higher you go, the more you realize about yourself that you need work, bro. Like, you're not this great guy that, you think you are. When you look in the mirror, like in order to get to that next level, you got to address that. And it's like, I got to do that. I got to face that demon because that's what's required to go to that next level. And for me, that's fascinating because I got to work on me. It's a challenge for me. And it's not so much getting to the next level and everything that comes with that, but it's addressing that thing about me that's going to make me a better person.
The toughest challenges you'll face are with yourself.
Yeah.
Business is easy. Competition, sports competition, that stuff's easy. It is just the battle within yourself. That is 100 times harder.
Especially when it comes to expanding your mind about what's possible for you to accomplish. And I think that's a hard challenge. I think a lot of people settle for less than what they really can accomplish. And they settle because they don't want to do the work. They don't want to put in the hours. They don't want to put, I think.
This is interesting. You were talking about something you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to bring this up, but I don't necessarily think it's that they want to put in the work. This is where you mentioned like mentorship and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay.
And why I think that's so important is, have you heard, what's the guy's name? I'm struggling to think. Roger Bannister? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
The first
4 Minute Mile guy.
The 4 Minute Mile guy. Yeah. So for me, that's a good story like that relates to business, because for like all of human history, it was like, we could never run a 4 minute mile. Like that was just absolute. For those of you, I'm going to tell the story for those of you who don't know it, but for all of human history, we could never run a 4 minute mile. Right. And then all of a sudden, Roger Bannister, which I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right, comes along and he runs a 4 minute mile, like 3 minutes and 58 seconds or whatever. And since then, that was like in the 40s or 30s or something like that. Since then, like 90,000 people, I think it's over nearly 100,000 people have ran a sub 4 minute mile. It wasn't like humans all of a sudden developed more lung capacity. It was the development of better shoes, because people have ran 4 minute miles in bare feet. There was no massive development in human skeletal structure. So there was nothing. All it was this guy came along and he proved that it could be done. That was it. So before that, people didn't have a reference point to say, oh, this could happen. This can be done. So all of these people limited themselves to, oh, I'm happy with a 4:10 mile because it's impossible for a human to run under 4 minutes. And then somebody proved that it could happen. So for me, where this relates to mentorship is, especially if people are like struggling with a business or whatnot, is if you don't have a reference point of somebody you know or somebody you worked with or books that you're reading of somebody that's made the particular business that you're in successful, the idea in your head could creep in and being like, this just isn't possible. It can't be done. But if you're constantly surrounded with people, you say with a podcast, let's use that as an example, because we're on one, right? If you've never read a book on a successful, profitable podcast, or you've never watched a video, you've never read an article, or you've never talked to anybody that has a profitable, successful podcast, it could start to creep into your mindset of this just is impossible. But if you surround yourself with other successful podcast hosts, you read books about successful podcasts, you watch videos on successful podcasts, you have mentorships with successful hosts, you start to convince yourself that this is possible. So I don't even know where we're going with that, but it was something you mentioned earlier, and then it'll be about like the limiting of the mindset of I think it just that mentorship or just surrounding yourself with people who convince you that this is possible. And this applies to all sorts of areas of life, not just business. It can be with fitness. It can be with business. It can be with anything.
And that's the work that I'm talking about. So I completely agree. And that's considered work, reading the books, getting the mentorship,
it takes work to surround yourself.
Surrounding yourself with, that's the work. Because what you're really doing is reprogramming. You're challenging the beliefs that you have. And so essentially you're reframing that belief by what you're putting in because of who you're around, because of what you're reading, because of what you're seeing and doing. Now that belief is, oh, maybe I can do this. Because I feel that if the folks that weren't really in tune with the fact that a 4 minute mile is possible, or they didn't feel that even though some people had ran the 4 minute mile, it wasn't possible for them to run the 4 minute mile.
Mm-hmm.
They still never ran the 4 minute mile. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't end with just surrounding yourself. But if your belief system is Nobody's ever ran a 4-minute mile. Then you probably, if your aspiration is to run a sub 4-minute mile, but your belief structure is that nobody's ever done it, it's a lot harder. Whereas if you're like, it's been done before, other people have done it, and I'm surrounded with other people who have done it, it almost becomes that whole standard thing where the standard has changed, where it's no longer an aspiration. This is the standard. Everybody else has done this. I'm surrounded by people that have done this. I can do this too.
So Dylan, did you do that? The odds were stacked against you, as a high school dropout, now turned to 7-figure producer, entrepreneur. I mean, like, what was your standard? Let's not talk about, hey, the funds and the revenue that you're making right now, just getting to the place where, hey, I'm going to build a successful business to the point where it can sustain itself. It can sustain me. What caused you to believe that you could do that given your situation?
Relentless, ridiculous, stupid work ethic. And I knew other people who had successful businesses. For me, it was like all those pieces were kind of there. They were kind of like on this kind of rough description, but they were like kind of on the outside, like just had not been connected. And then whenever the focus came like that, looking back at hindsight's 2020, it was like, it was right in front of my face. Like it was right there. Like, you idiot, if you just focus on one thing and a high profit margin business, you're probably going to be able to build the kind of business that you want. And it was there for years. I just didn't see it. And that's another thing where the mentorship came in is I had a mentor who, basically slapped me upside the face and was like, you're being an idiot. You need to do this. So yeah, it was all those things were kind of there. I was surrounded by people who had successful businesses. I read books about people who had successful businesses. I was in mentorship groups and mastermind groups and was taking training. So all the pieces were there. And then the piece that connected them for me was the focus, just focusing on one single thing, one single business, and being absolutely ruthless with just cutting all the unnecessary crap.
Well, so let's talk about your business. So it's a digital marketing business, right? And so tell us a little bit about what you do and how you support others with your business.
Sure. So I have two businesses now. The one is Ogline Digital, which is the digital marketing agency. And basically we offer digital ad management services. Dumbing it down, essentially what we're doing is we are managing a client's Facebook, Google, and sometimes YouTube ads. We build the ad, write the copy, build the landing page, manage what to target, all that stuff. And we charge a 10% fee. So if the client spends $50,000 in a month, we send them an invoice for $5,000. That's what Ogline Digital does. My other company is my education company. It's ran under my personal name, DylanOgline.com. And I have a training program called Agency 2.0 where I teach other people how to start and grow their own digital marketing agency.
And how long have you been in business so far?
I've owned my own business since I was 14. I've only ever had one job. Wow. Worked at a cotton candy stand at a racetrack.
Does that count?
I got paid minimum wage, which I think was $5.25 an hour, and then Pennsylvania changed it, so it was like $7.15 an hour, and I was just I didn't know what to do with all the money.
So why marketing, man? What made you choose marketing? Why is that so important?
So what happened, I think it's just the times. Whenever I started my first business, which was selling cell phones on eBay, this was just, at the time, it was like the infancy of like Google AdWords. I don't even think Facebook had launched at that time. Yeah, Facebook was just a twinkle in Mark Zuckerberg's eye. I know Facebook advertising certainly wasn't out there. And so I kind of just got into marketing at the very beginning. And it was, I read in some books or got some training or something where I recognized at a young age that this whole like digital marketing thing is going to change the world, because now businesses, the concept that I really learned was now businesses have the ability to purchase trackable growth. Go back 25 years ago or whatever. If you're a blue collar, any kind of business, blue collar business, doesn't matter. and you wanted to do you wanted to grow your client base. You might have done some TV ads or some billboards, and you just kind of hoped that they worked. And you were kind of like, oh, well, it looks like sales are up. So I think that's working. With digital marketing, you're able to, once you track it and once you get good at it and everything, which is relatively easy, you can get to the point where you can say, I spent $100 on whatever ads and I generated X dollars in return. And you can tweak things and constantly increase your, scale up your budgets. And that, when it comes to business growth strategies, just change the world. Because now nearly every business, e-commerce business, blue collar business, training programs, it doesn't matter. You could literally track and purchase growth. And that just fascinated me. And it was just at the right time. I got into it at a young age, and that was it.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you had to face in your marketing business to date?
Once I started to focus on just marketing, there was a long period, like after I started the cell phone business, and then that got shut down because my merchant account got closed because they found out I was under the age of 18. Mm-hmm. There was a long period of bouncing around between different things. And I was always doing some kind of agency work, like website design or graphics design, or you needed a logo, Dylan was your guy. Mm-hmm. But I also was trying all these different projects like affiliate marketing and et cetera, trying to figure out how to be able to purchase growth and get a business going. So once I decided I'm just going to focus on a digital agency, and I'm just going to focus on this one service, this one offering, the challenge is there really haven't been that many. Because once you focus on one single thing, you're relentlessly working on it, you get better and better and better. So that for me was the key, is that I got better and better and better. And now I'm just really good at it because it's all I do. So
pretty good, man. I appreciate that, because I feel I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, they go in with the idea of creating multiple streams of income, which is a beautiful thing. I think you need multiple streams of income. But what they don't tell you when they talk about that is that you want to do them, one at a time, right? You want to master one product.
Yes. Master
the marketing on that product, perfect it. And then you have to know when it's time to kind of start working on that next product. And I think that's the art and the science. And it's really understanding your business, understanding your customer, understanding the need before you go off and start building that other product.
Yeah, that whole multiple streams of income, that was something the first business book I ever read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which I think I talk about that in like every podcast. I'm obsessed with it. It's a good book. It's a really good book. I recommend that book to everybody because it's just this like foundation of money management, business and whatnot. But that it does talk about in there like multiple streams of income. So at a young age, I was obsessed with that. But what you mentioned is you also got to have the key point of you got to focus on one. And then once that's good, then maybe you can take some effort and put it over here. But if they're going in 20 different directions, you're not going to get any source of income. And I am a personal testament to that.
Yeah, got to get that traction first. Dylan, how can people connect with you if they wanted to learn more about you?
My website, DylanOgline.com, which Ogline is OGLINE. You're probably going to include that in the show notes. And I do have an ebook that I just put up live for free. I think it was this week or last week. It's 6 Steps to a Six-Figure Agency. Just go to DylanOgline.com/6, all spelled out, SIX, and you can get that book for free.
Awesome. So Dylan, thank you for coming on the show, sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you for the book, providing that to the audience for free. I really appreciate that. And I guess I would like to know, if there is something that you would want to leave with us regarding just dealing with some of the adversity that we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. We talked about making it a choice, sticking to that choice, unrelentless effort. Is there anything else that in your mind that you would want to leave with us that people should know about when they get into entrepreneurship or in their professional corporate lives? Is there anything else, coming from someone who's defied extreme odds to become successful?
Anything else? I don't have anything else. I would like to point out 2 things. One, I don't think that I faced extreme. I would like to, I'm going to go with this. I would like to leave people with the thought that you need to have gratitude for the adversity that you're facing, no matter your challenge. No matter what it is, never look at it as an excuse. Look at it as an opportunity. I am lucky. I am grateful. I am blessed. Whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say, whatever challenge I'm going through, could be health, it could be relationship, could be family, it could be coming from difficult or not optimal means, or it could be anything like that, man. You have to change it in your mind that I'm blessed and I'm grateful and show gratitude towards that. And then the second thing is you just need to decide that I'm not going to fail. If I'm on that treadmill, you're getting off first or I'm going to die. It really, really is that simple. I think those are the two things I would leave people with.
Dylan Ogline on the Game Changer Mentality podcast. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For stopping by. Thank you for your expertise, man. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. Another successful episode of the Game Changer Mentality podcast. Listen, this doesn't have to be difficult, folks. It really comes down to, just a couple of things. Deciding and being grateful for whatever comes your way. And it's a beautiful formula, right? Because when you make that decision, you're grateful for that process, the ups and the downs. It just really gives you grounding, in my opinion, to kind of deal with everything that's going to come along. And I think that's the key here, right? I mean, you got to stay grounded. You got to stay focused. You got to stay true to who you are and steadfast to what it is that you've decided to do in life. And I think gratitude is the anchor. When you're grateful at all times for the ups and the downs, it just puts you in a state of mind that you just head down, keep charging, grateful. Good times, grateful. Bad times, still grateful, because you're grounded and you're anchored in who you are and what you want to accomplish in life. And I think truly, hey, that's the game changer here. That's the game changer. So I wish you all, the best. Stay hungry, stay focused, stay in the game, and most of all, stay grateful. Until next time, peace and love.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Game Changer Mentality podcast. Visit rodneyflowers.com to access the show notes and discover our fantastic content. Connect with the Game Changer Transformation community on Facebook to join the conversation and adopt the Game Changer mentality.